Heading into this past regular season, the expectations for the New York Rangers definitely seemed like they were to at least be a playoff team. And ultimately, of course, the Rangers did not even make playoffs. They didn't even get a wild card spot. Definitely did not finish in the top 3 in the Metro. So ultimately, it was a pretty disappointing overall season for this team and franchise as a whole. But obviously, after some of the kind of real bad parts of this past regular season, we started to see some real change happen with this kind of core group of players and just overall roster in general, as we started to see some big moves with guys like, Jacob Trouba, Capo Caco, Filipino. I've talked numerous times about these trades, so I'm not going to talk too much about those, obviously, but we did see lots of changes start to happen this past regular season before the trade deadline. Then we head into this offseason where we started to see even more big trades happen, where the Rangers are shipping off some more kind of core players of this team with guys like, of course, Chris Kreider and K'Andre Miller going out the door. And at the end of the day, it definitely seems like the New York Rangers have made quite a few pretty good changes possibly with this roster. Ultimately, we're going to have to kind of wait and see how things shake out there with, adding in the new coaching staff as well with the new head coach there in Mike Sullivan, right? Lots of things have kind of changed with this team, not just the group of players, but obviously also the coaching staff as well. So there has been lots of changes with this kind of organization and franchise as a whole over the last kind of, calendar plus year or so now. And I think lots of those moves have been good, but in today's video, I wanted to kind of take a look at the rest of this Metropolitan Division and really kind of see where the Rangers are sitting right now against the other teams in this Metro Division, because I think obviously right now the Metro is by no means the kind of top division in the league right now. I mean, at moments in past years, they have been one of, if not the kind of top divisions in the entire NHL, but obviously, especially the last couple seasons there, and especially this past season there, the Rangers were definitely not in the best division overall. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting idea there to kind of compare the Rangers right now and kind of see, where they're sitting with their team and kind of with this team right now and kind of compare them to some other teams around the Metro, around this division there that they're going to be competing with for one of those top 3 spots in the Metropolitan Division. So let's get right into things here. And first off, we'll kind of, go bottom up to the top there. So from last season's kind of standings there, we'll go from the bottom and kind of talk about each of the Metro teams there and kind of compare them a bit to the Rangers and kind of see whether or not I think they could possibly, finish above the Rangers or behind them, and kind of see which teams the Rangers could really be in the mix with to finish in one of those top 3 spots in the divisions. But quickly, before we do get into the mix of things here, I did want to mention, of course, that I do post a video every single day on this channel about the New York Rangers. So if you are a fan of the team, this is the place to be. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily Rangers content. And also, of course, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video, as well as it does help the channel a ton, and I would really, really appreciate it. But now let's get right into things here and start off with the last place team in the Metro Division from this past season there. And that, of course, was the 8th place Philadelphia Flyers, who I think, for this upcoming season, they might end up taking a bit of a step up. This past season had 76 points in 82 games played. Maybe they get a little better, but I don't see them becoming a playoff caliber team. I don't think they're quite ready for that. I don't even think they're going to be really competing for a wild card spot more than likely. Now, could they be one of those teams that are, somewhat close to a wild card spot, in the later kind of months there of the season? Potentially, but at the end of the day, I do expect them to miss the playoffs there, and I definitely don't see them competing at all really for one of those top 3 spots in the Metro, but you never know. They are a decent kind of young team there possibly, so maybe they make a bit of noise, but more than likely will not make playoffs. Next is the 7th place Pittsburgh Penguins, which I'm going to be honest, I could definitely see them being the last place team in this division. And if I had to guess right now, I would probably say they're going to be. They're a team that hasn't really gotten any better this offseason, and I think, might end up looking to sell off some more players at some point throughout this offseason and into next season as well. So I really don't think they're going to be a contending team at all for the playoffs, let alone to even be a, like 82 or 83 or even 85 point team there. They had 80 points this past season there. I don't think they're going to be better than that. And honestly, like I said, could see them definitely finishing last, and definitely could finish in that kind of 70 point range there. Something around there is definitely possible for the Penguins for this upcoming season. Next up is the 6th place New York Islanders, who had 82 points last season. They're 3 points back of the 5th place Rangers. And I'm going to be honest, I do think the Rangers are definitely still better than the Islanders there. I don't think the Rangers really have to worry about the Islanders too much to be competing for that kind of top 3 spot there in the Metro. I would imagine the Islanders, definitely could potentially be even better than this past season there. They made a couple little decent kind of moves there, obviously, drafted Matthew Schaefer. We'll have to wait and kind of see how he ends up doing at the NHL level for this upcoming season. But I think they've got a decent kind of group of young guys there. They're starting to kind of, have a better future. So I think they're still a few years out for sure. But I think as of right now, the Rangers are kind of safe in dealing with them, where I don't think they have to worry about them too much. Although, the Islanders can always be a little bit of a sneaky team there, so you never know with them. But like I said, I don't think they're going to make playoffs there, and I do think the Rangers definitely should finish above them. Now we've got the fourth place Columbus Blue Jackets, who finished 4 points above the fifth place Rangers, who got 85 points there, and I think Columbus will take a bit of a step back there. Yes, they do have a lot of good young guys on their team, but I still think they lack some kind of goaltending. Obviously, that's still a bit of a question mark in my opinion there, but I just think their team in general still has some pretty big holes. Like their defensive core, I think, has some flaws there. Yes, they've got, like Zach Werenski there. They brought back obviously Provorov, but I don't think Provorov's an absolutely incredible defenseman. And I also think there are some holes in the rest of the team as well. So I'm not quite ready to kind of label them a playoff team there, even though they did have a really great season there. Obviously, they went through a lot as a team, but I do unfortunately think they're going to take maybe a bit of a step back this upcoming season, so probably won't be a playoff team once again, but they definitely should be kind of right around that kind of wild card spot. They're competing for a spot, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to be outside there possibly, or at most there they will be a playoff team in the wild card, but I definitely don't really see them being a top 3 squad in the Metro. And now we get into the top 3 here with the actual teams that are going to be some real competition with the Rangers for one of those top 3 spots in the division, of course. And first off, here we got the third place team from this past season there, the 91-point New Jersey Devils. They definitely would have finished a bit higher possibly if, they had Jack Hughes the entire season, or at least with a higher point total. But I think they haven't really gone out there so far and made, a nice big kind of splash move. So I don't think they're going to be much better than last season there. Obviously, you account for, Jack Hughes coming back there, and they have some young guys who could take some steps as well. But I haven't really seen them go out there and make some crazy kind of moves. I think that Connor Brown deal was pretty questionable. So I think so far they've had a not great offseason, so I'm not terribly worried about them. I think they're going to be a really good team, and they definitely should be in the mix alongside the Rangers, but I do have faith in this Rangers team bouncing back, and I know some fans are definitely going to disagree with me on this, but I don't see why the Rangers can't be right in the mix there alongside the, of course, Devils and Kane for sure, and we'll get to them in a second, but I think the Rangers definitely should be right around the Devils there this upcoming season. I think that's going to be pretty close in the division there for that top 3, kind of like it was, a couple seasons ago as well. So I'm hopeful the Rangers will bounce back, and I do think they will. So I'd imagine they're going to be right around the Devils for one of those top 3 spots in the division. But as of right now, I'm not really going to pick a kind of team to be above one or the other. But I think it should be a pretty tight race for the top spot in the Metro for sure. Then you've got the Carolina Hurricanes, who did finish second there. They had 99 points, and I think they're going to be a great team once again. Of course, they had that kind of issue there with, Mikko Rantanen mid-season there, of course, before the trade deadline, but they ended up kind of figuring that out there. They obviously have brought in a lot of talent there, brought in Keandre Miller. We'll see how that goes, but adding in Nikolai Ehlers, although he has not been a real kind of great playoff performer, he definitely has been a very good offensive producer in the regular season, which is definitely something they could use a bit more of there, have an extra kind of, top line kind of offensive punch there. So I think adding in a guy like Ehlers there, who is a really solid kind of top 6 winger there in at moments, can definitely play like a top line caliber guy. So I think that was a great pickup for them. I think they very well could end up finishing, and probably will finish top spot in the Metro Division for this upcoming season. I think their team is just so deep in all areas. Even goaltending, they have some depth there, although some questions with Frederik Andersen and his injuries, stuff like that. But I think overall they have a very good, well-coached team, and also have a really good, deep team as well. So I think they'll probably finish top spot in the Metro if I had to guess right now. Then we've got the Washington Capitals, who ended up, of course, finishing at the top spot in the entire NHL in the regular season, and I am fully expecting a massive drop-off from this team. I could definitely see it being possible where they drop off by 30 points. It definitely is possible to see that big of a drop-off with this team, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's going to happen there. I think they're probably still going to be right in the mix for a wild card spot there, and possibly the division as well. Maybe that third place spot there alongside the Rangers or Devils possibly, but I really do think they're going to take a pretty big step back, and I do have the Rangers finishing in that top 3 as of right now with Carolina and the Devils there. As of right now, I would probably give the edge to Carolina being the top team in the Metro in the regular season there, and then it'll be, second or third spot, the Devils or Rangers, and then after that, I would probably go Capitals, but I really do think the Capitals could potentially have a massive drop-off, and if they did, take a big step back, like I said, like 30 points there, where they end up finishing with like 81 or something around that kind of point range there, I wouldn't think it's absolutely kind of crazy to see that happen there, because they did, statistically kind of get lucky at moments there. It seemed like their team on paper is nowhere near as good as they kind of ended up being this past season there. I think Spencer Carberry is a great coach and all, but I really do think they exceeded by quite a bit last season there, and I just don't see how they're going to be anywhere close to as good once again this upcoming season, unless they have some other kind of magical players there where they just kind of get some more of these kind of, guys who haven't quite taken that big step yet or haven't quite been able to kind of really get going somewhere with a different team, and they pick them up and they get some more kind of guys who really kind of get going, I guess, with them. That's really the only possible way. They have to make some massive moves or find some more kind of, hidden players there, because otherwise I just don't see how this team is possibly, going to be back up anywhere close to that kind of point total once again, as they really just don't have near that good of a team. And with Ovi, continuing to age a bit, he definitely could put up, 40, 50 goals. It's still possible, but, does he take a bit of a step back? And if he does, then that will really, really hurt the Capitals quite a bit, in my opinion there. And also, John Carlson there, he's getting older as well. Injuries could creep up a bit as well. So there's definitely a lot of question marks with this team, and I do think at the end of the day, they're probably not going to be a top 3 team in the Metropolitan Division. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Do you agree with my take there on thinking this Rangers team will bounce back and get, back into the playoffs there, back into that top 3 in the Metropolitan Division? Let me know your thoughts on these kind of Metropolitan teams, kind of how they stack up against the Rangers. I'll catch you next one, and bye.